Good morning, first of all, welcome. Thank you for participating in the Delegate Assembly this year. Whether you're up at, I think, 4 a.m., 3 a.m. on one side of the world and 10 or 11 o'clock in Australia, thank you very much. You have to stretch it out. So you will see at the bottom of your screen a small globe, an icon in the shape of the world, and it says interpretation. If you click on that, you will see it will be ticked that off. And then you have a choice of English, French, or Spanish. So English is the main channel. We're in the English channel right now, and you will hear English. If you click on French, Pascal, who is our simultaneous translator, will be translating from English to French. And if you click on Spanish, you will be greeted by George, who will be translating from English to Spanish. And so you can hear the conversation. And I'm also going to put the closed captions on at the bottom of the screen. So you can now see the words as they are spoken on the screen, which we find does help for both the translators and those who are not mother tongue English to follow the conversation, because we are all guilty in our mother tongue of speaking too fast when there are others who are not of the same language. The other one is that when we go to a vote, if you click on the participants, then you will see, it will open up the box. You can see all the people who are present. And at the bottom, there are some symbols, yes, no, and we will use those to vote. And so when you click on that, then either yes or no that you indicate will come up next to your name, and we can do a quick count to make sure we have a majority for each one of the votes. So that's the procedure for the moment. Lena, I'll hand it over to you, and I'll put the, you all have the copies of the minutes and the other documentation. I shall put them up on the screen as we go along, but you can refer to those as we go.
Okay, so do I start with welcome?
Yes, please.
Yes, okay. Welcome everybody, and good morning, good afternoon, and good evening wherever you are. It's a little bit more than a year since I was elected president of IFAJ, and it hasn't been quite what I imagined. I mean, representing IFAJ should contain visits to farms, meetings with colleagues from all over the world. Instead, I have been stuck to my home office most of the time. Another challenge I have faced during this last year is to be able to express myself in a foreign language. When you are used to working with words, this sometimes makes you feel a bit handicapped. But most of the time, we seem to understand each other well, despite language barriers and different cultures. And it's fantastic to have all these colleagues and contacts all over the world who are working with and are interested in the same issue. Sometimes you can hear people say that agriculture is something old-fashioned. They couldn't be more wrong. In fact, agriculture will never get old-fashioned. We will always be depending on farmers for our livelihood, even though technologies and methods change. And I would say that agriculture is more important now than it has been for many years. A shrinking amount of farmers have to feed a growing population. Agriculture and forestry have solutions to many of our future challenges, such as climate change, for example. Some might even consider agriculture journalism and communication as old-fashioned. We know that isn't true either. When fewer and fewer people are directly engaged in ag business, the agriculture journalists and communicators spectators have a very important mission. We are the ones who can describe the big picture and build bridges between consumers and farmers. We have knowledge that few other journalists have.
Yeah.
You who were able to attend the professional development sessions
Do I want to talk?
yesterday.
This is essentially a short targeted deployment to make sure that
Okay.
Could hear how important it is that we continue our work, both to enhance people's knowledge of agriculture and food production, and to inform farmers about new sustainable methods and techniques, which will be necessary in the future. It is also important that there are journalists and communicators who can correct misunderstandings and deliberate misinformation about agriculture. The past year has been special. It has not always been easy to run a global organization, but thanks to digital media, a lot of voluntary work, it has been possible. Though we haven't been able to meet in person, we have managed to organize quite a few activities, which you will see later in the agenda. I want to thank all of you who have made this possible, especially our global office and the rest of the Presidium. They put loads of work into this organization, sometimes even in the middle of the night and on weekends. We all engage into this because it's meaningful, fulfilling, and important. Let's keep up our work and hopefully we will be rewarded with seeing each other in person again next year in Denmark. Thank you. So let's get on with the agenda.
Okay. So we have to approve the agenda,
Yes.
and
So can I have a motion to approve the agenda?
I move that we accept the agenda. This is Elaine Shane.
Thank you, Elaine.
Seconded by
Seconded by
Norway.
Radford.
Who was that?
Norway, for example. We can
Thank you,
second it.
Morton, thank you.
Thank you, Morten. Okay, and then it's the minutes. Have you seen and read the minutes? Do you have any questions? No
They were ve-
questions.
They were very interesting.
Yeah, of course. So then, can I have a motion to approve the minutes?
Motion from
Happy to-
Germany.
Thank you, Katarina.
Jonathan on as well as your man. But then there's a mistake, I'll just go off.
Yeah, there we go.
Thank you, Katarina. And the second,
I'll second
Lee
it from
Radford.
Elaine.
Alberto, México.
thank you, Elaine.
Okay, we can go back to the
Reports.
reports.
Yes. Okay. As I said earlier, we have managed to have quite a few activities during this past year, though we haven't been able to meet in person. And this is, of course, our second eCongress, and well, that's the way to do it too. And I'm glad we can do it this way. We are lucky that this pandemic struck us when we have digital medias. There has also been a lot of work in the committees, and they will report about this later in the agenda. The eCongress is now on, as you probably know. And yesterday we had a professional development day with lots of interesting sessions, I think. And if you weren't able to follow them, you can do it later because everything was recorded and will be up on our website next week.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I recommend you to listen to these sessions. They were really interesting. The Delegate Assembly is now on, as you know, and tomorrow the eCongress will follow with a toast to Denmark when our Danish colleagues will present the year and the program for next year's Congress. I really hope it will be in Denmark. And later tomorrow, there will also be a presentation of the Star Prize Awards. Next, please. So that was all from me. Over to Steve.
Hey, good morning from the very start of today. If you don't like how your day is going, you can come back and join me at the very beginning of the day. It's only 2 o'clock here, so you get a whole new start. We'll talk about communications. So one of the basic things is here we all are on Zoom, which we've now learned over the past year and a half is so important, such an important tool. IFAJ has a Zoom account that you are welcome to use. It's here for a service for the guilds, committees. If you ever have a meeting or want to run a webinar or do any programming, contact Hugh or Norma and just ask to use the Zoom account. It's free to our guilds, and we would love to have you able to use it. You can use the translation features if you have translators. It can be a really great tool. Let's go on to the newsletter. I believe that's the next slide, right? So the newsletter is online right now. We've got English online, French and Spanish are coming. Please share this with your members. This has, we're hoping, a lot of interesting information that people can enjoy. News from other guilds, professional development. This month we've got information from Damien O'Reilly about how he approaches his radio broadcasts and has won the Star Prize. There's information. We're trying to really bring a lot of value and a lot of sense of what's going on around the organization and around the world. So have a read. It's on the website. It's should be in your inbox, but also please share with your members so they understand, what the possibilities are and what the opportunities are. Let's go to the next slide. From the field is another feature that I'd like to use more of, and that can be anything. It can be a report from your guild. It can be an article that you just find interesting. It could be observations that you want to share about being a journalist where you are. So please share either from the field information or things that might fit in the newsletter. If you've got news or a great program going on, please share it. We would love to spread it around and learn from each other. And it doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be in English. It can be in any language you like. All right, let's do the next slide. Okay, the IFAJ portal. So this is the members only web portion for IFAJ. So we have the website, which is available to anybody. We have the Facebook group, which is available to people who register and are approved as a legitimate, global journalist or communicator. But we also now have been building this IFAJ portal, which is just for members of your guilds. And so we're really trying to work on making this as useful a resource as it can be. So we've got the directory, we've got forums where people can have conversations that are not in the public view, that are just for IFAJ members. We're trying to work on creating something of a marketplace. If a guild has a bunch of computers or, from some member and some other guild needs computers, let's have a little forum for people to be able to say, hey, you know what I need? or you know what would be great, or you know, here's a program that we're doing that we need some help with. We're trying to create those reasons to be in contact with each other in a special place that's just ours. So I will I'll continue to give you updates on that, and we'll keep trying to make that useful. Also talking with organizations like Rabobank and some other groups about information that we can put inside the portal that can help journalists and communicators as they're looking for opportunities and stories or background, that kind of thing, things that are special to us. So watch the newsletters and watch our communications for some of the things that are going on behind the portal. Let's go to the next slide. Speaking of communications, we're also trying to look at what works and how people are using our communications tools. So Norma and Ali in the global office and I have sat down and started looking at some of the metrics tools to better understand how people are using our materials and use that as guidance. Just thinking strategically about our communications. Similarly, we're going to be doing the same thing for our emails and dispatches, so that we understand how people are using them, whether they're being opened, et cetera, and so forth. So first of all, please open your email and come visit our site. So we get great metrics, but also if you are expert in or interested in metrics and can help, I always appreciate somebody's expertise who can help me understand this better and use the tools as well as we can. So just contact me, and I would love to work with you on this. All right, let's go to the next slide. So another tool that we're putting together is some promotional materials. So what IFAJ is, if you ever need to explain it to your members, or you need to explain it to sponsors, hey, this is what our guild is, this is what we do on a global scale. We have a PowerPoint, we're working on a brochure that help explain that can be in PDF. We'll have that in our 3 biggest languages, but also can work with you on getting it into, or providing you the files for translation into local languages. There's also some great member videos. Jane Craigie, Elena from Ukraine have done great videos of what the various people feel has been the value of IFAJ, or the value of going to Congress. Or I did a series a couple of years ago, why be an agricultural journalist or an agricultural communicator? What kind of career is this? So we're going to put those materials into the portal as well. So you can use those in your guild meetings, or other communications with members, or with people who you're trying to recruit as members, or students, any number of audiences for that. So just please keep an eye out for that. That'll be happening in the next few weeks. Next slide. And we've talked a bit about having communications forums. So this would not be a webinar the way we have, so many great webinars on our website, and that we're holding through eCongress, et cetera, where it's someone talking to the audience. This would be more of a dialogue. So imagine a big Zoom breakout room speaking about issues that are of broad appeal. So I think we're going to start. The first one will be on land use conflicts, and this will be held. We're going to be working on trying to do this at least in English and French, where people can come on and talk about the issue, and how do you cover it? How, as a journalist or how, as a communicator, do you bring your points out about these topics? So please watch for that, and when it happens, please participate. That will definitely be something to be involved with on the day, rather than something like a webinar where you can catch it later on when you're have time. So we'd love to see this become a regular feature for our organization, where we can have these conversations and learn from each other about how we're communicating or reporting. And I think that's my last slide, right?
Okay,
Cool.
thank you, Steve. Do you have any questions for Steve? No questions? Yeah?
Okay, I'm just going to check. There's a message in the chat box that the French translation is not working properly. I'm just going to check. So I'm speaking now, Pascal, if you can translate. So yeah, it seems to be going, and I'll just check the Spanish. Sure, as I'm speaking now, can you translate? Yeah, so it seems to be going okay. Thank you. Sorry about that.
So do you know to explain the procedure again, maybe?
Okay, so the interpretation, you'll see at the bottom of your screen a little globe icon with the word interpretation. If you click on that, it will give you the choices between English, French, and Spanish. This is the English channel, of course. And if you click on French and Spanish, then you will hear Pascal or Georges as the interpretation.
Okay, thank you. Let's go on with the meeting.
All right, so I'll go back to sharing the screen. There we go. So, Adi.
Okay, hello everybody. At IFAJ, we continue to promote the exchange of knowledge among members, and without a doubt, in this context of new normal, webinars bring us closer together. During the first semester of the year, we have held numerous webinars on different topics, and they were really very interesting. From now on, we invite all members to bring us proposals that surely will be very welcome. This year too, we have started our classic training programs for journalists. The Young Leaders Program with Alltech and the Masterclass with Cortiva. Both programs have started successfully, and the interest of the participants is really, truly amazing. As you can see, both in the Young Leaders Program and in the Masterclass, young journalists from all over the world participate in the programs. Next slide, please, Hugh. Every week, 2 hour online sessions. And the next slide, please. These are the participants of the Young Leaders Program. Ghana, Liberia, United States, Gambia, Canada, Australia, Ireland, Tanzania, Great Britain. And the Masterclass, Nigeria, Jordan, Brazil, Argentina, Iraq, Congo, Nigeria, Kazakhstan, Chile, Sierra Leone, Botswana, Uganda, all over the world. And in this way, once again, IFAJ reaffirms its commitment to promoting new generations of journalists and the formation of journalist guilds that contribute, obviously, to making the profession stronger throughout the world.
Adi?
Yes.
I think some of the participants in the programs are with us today, so maybe we should say a special welcome to them.
Yes, of course. Of course. This is I think this is the first session, the first Delegate Assembly, Delegate Assembly for them. So I gave them all over the IFAJ Presidium a very great welcome.
Thank you.
And this year, we'll also reward the best agricultural journalists in the world. The awards ceremony will take place tomorrow, closing the eCongress. I really must highlight the quality of the works received and the great effort and commitment assumed by the jury that once again dedicated its time and professionalism to evaluating a large number of works. As you can see in the next slide, we received a very large number of works in print, digital media, audio, video, and photo. There's a very large number of works in photo. So I think tomorrow will be a great day, and we have a great award ceremony. It's all for me. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Adi. Do you have any questions for Adi? No questions. Okay, thank you again. Our treasurer, Adrian Bell, sends his apologies to all of us, but he can't be with us today because his wife has some health problems. So unfortunately, he can't be here, but I hope Hugh has prepared to present the final report.
Hugh will try.
Good, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Lena. So this is really the official part of the meeting, of course, when we have an annual meeting as today to approve the financial accounts and things related to finances. So bear with me, I'll go through them. They were part of the documentation that you received, and I will put it up on the screen as we go through. And stop between each one so that if there are any questions, you can ask them, because we'll have to, this is where we have to ask for motions to approve these things officially. So the first one is the financial statement, and I'll put it up in detail on the screen. But these are the accounts from last year, January to December 2020. Because of COVID, the income was only 33,000 euros. Normally, income is in excess of 100,000 euros with sponsorship. But of course, there was no sponsorship and there was no activity. Expenses were, of course, significantly reduced as well, and mostly related to the operations of IFAJ, the global office, and the website and other kinds of functions. So we incurred a deficit of 6,000 euros, which in the context, I think, was quite reasonable, given that the major source of funding was from the membership fees, and that leaves us with a capital reserve of 120,000 euros. And I'll just put this up on the screen. Hang on a second. There we go. Sorry, that's the budget. I picked the wrong file. Sorry. Just give me a second here. The 20. Right. So there's small figures, so as you see, most of the membership fees were the source of revenue, with other bits and pieces because there was no sponsorship. When you look at the expense figures, they were largely related to operations. There was some travel money because we did manage to have the executive meeting in Switzerland, if you remember that far back, in February 2020. But largely the majority of the expense was for supporting the global office. On the balance sheet, I know it's a lot of numbers up on the screen, but essentially most of the assets for the IFAJ are in the reserve account, which, as I mentioned, is now 120,000 euros. Most of the other assets are fairly minor. And the accounts were also audited. In the background to this was we had our executive meeting last week where the audit had not been finished, and we thank David Markey for stepping in to assist Adrian to get the accounts audited in time for this meeting. So on that score, are there any questions about the 2020 financial statement? So hearing none, Lena, if we could have a motion and a second to adopt the 2020 financial accounts.
Yes, but how should we do this? Should we do the official voting procedure with
Yes,
showing hand? Yes.
So if we could have a motion second first.
Yeah. So could I have a motion to approve the financial reports?
I'm happy to do that. Lee Radford, Australia.
Thank you, Lee.
Seconded by Elaine.
1 second from South Africa.
Okay. Thank you, Magda. Second from South Africa.
So if you go to the participants box, you can click on the vote for yes and no. There we go. So if you want to go in and vote, those who are delegates, of course. Any other votes? It's unanimous.
Okay. Thank you.
So we have to nominate an auditor for next year. And so the procedure is that we have an honorary auditor who last year, for the last several years anyway, has been David Markey, former president from Ireland. And so if I could have a motion and a second to nominate David Markey to do the audit for this current year, 2021.
Can we have a motion to nominate David Markey?
I move that we nominate David Markey as our auditor for this next year.
Thank you, Elaine.
Seconded, Lee Radford.
Thank you, Lee.
So again, all those in favor, if they would indicate in the participants box. Now we're getting some votes. Okay, again, it's unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you.
They were votes in the chat.
In the participant box. So if you click on participants, all the list of participants comes up.
Actually, it's under reactions instead of participants, I think.
Oh, is it? Sorry, my screen is always different.
Yeah, it's
But
under
there are some in the
reactions.
chat, in the chat. There are okays and yes.
Thank you for that, Elaine. It's in the reaction box, not the participant box. So at the bottom. So the next item on the agenda is the membership fee, which we have to approve on an annual basis. The membership fee has been €7 for upper level members for many, many years. And a lower level, as it's called in the rules, is $3.50. And the difference is that those countries where the gross national income is above US $8,000 pay €7, and those in countries where the gross national income is below US $8,000 pay $3.50. So could we have a motion on the membership fee for 2021?
Yes, could we have a motion to approve the membership fee for 2021?
Austrian, Stefan.
Thank you, Stefan. And the second?
Second,
Lisa from
Alberto
Italy.
Mexico.
Second from Alberto. Thank you, Alberto.
So if you could vote on the
Reactions.
okay, again, it's unanimous.
I noticed that Magda raised her hand. Maybe she wants to say something.
I think they're voting with their hands.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Please go on.
All right, the next item on the agenda related to finance is that, and please, members of the Presidium, you can add in here. We always have to show the members who are in arrears, unfortunately. So these are the dues that are outstanding for 2020 from the different countries. And the Presidium will be engaging in coming weeks with these countries, as well as others that have arrears from previous years, to look at how we can try and regulate these accounts, both for the benefit of membership as well as the finances of IFAJ. That if there are any continuing difficulties, then of course you have to talk about membership suspensions, which will be raised at the next executive committee meeting in October. So at the moment there are no suspensions. It's an information item so that people are aware of the situation because it's the annual meeting. Did you have anything to add, Lena or Steve or Adi?
No, maybe just that our treasurer says that if everyone had paid their fees for 2020, our deficit would be halved.
I would also say if you see your guild, oh, I'm sorry, Lena, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, so it's important that we pay our fees.
I would add to that, yeah, that we really depend on these fees. This is what's keeping us going, especially in this COVID years. And if you see your guild's name and this is a surprise, please let us know as soon as you can. Reach out to Hugh or reach out to Adrian. We really don't want to be suspending guilds, but we need that participation. We need that support. And we have been talking about, as you see on the slide, the idea of trying to create some kind of fund perhaps to help guilds if things are really just very difficult, but we really need to come to some opportunities and some conclusions to make sure that everyone is paid in.
Okay, so then the last financial item is to look at the budget for this current year, and it's just a formality to approve it. But the planned income for the year is 62,000 euros, which is somewhat higher than last year. That is, of course, contingent on the return of sponsorships, which have been requested for the young leaders and the masterclass programs, for example. Not that there's any travel involved, but there's a lot of work that's been undertaken to get those programs and potentially to support those participants next year in IFAJ activities. The expenses, again, slightly higher, but again, because there's no travel, won't be significant. So potentially we could have a surplus of 15,000, which would add to the capital fund if that's the case. And I'm going to now pick the right document. There we go. For the budget. So as you can see, that the income would be divided pretty evenly between membership fees and the corporate sponsorship, and we're still finalizing those amounts. So it is possible that given that COVID has continued, that won't come through. But in any case, the expenses are going to be considerably lower, and they're up on the screen. Again, most of the expense would be for the operations of the global office, with some increase for the masterclass and young leaders. And if we're able to secure the sponsorship, it would bring us back up to a better financial level after 2020, and hopefully position us well to start 2022 if things get back to, well, obviously the new normal is not going to be the old normal. So whatever that's going to be. Are there any questions on the 2021 budget? If not, could I have a motion and a second?
Yes, can we have a motion to approve the budget for 2021?
Motion from Germany.
Approved from Philippines.
Thank you, Katerina and Alfred. Or could you be the second, Alfred?
Yes, okay,
Yeah.
second the motion.
Yeah, thank you, Alfred. And should we all vote now?
Yes, please.
Please vote in the reaction box with yes or no.
Yeah,
Not in the chat.
Okay, again, thank you very much. So that is the end of the financial report.
Thank you,
Back
Hugh.
to you and Steve for the foundation.
Thank you, Hugh. Steve, can you tell us a little bit about the foundation?
Sure, the process is still going on. Adrian and I sat down a while back with the very helpful people from the British Charities Commission. So we're establishing the foundation in the UK very specifically because it allows people from a wide range of countries to be directors, or to create the board of directors, which a lot of countries don't. So that's one of the main reasons we chose Britain. What I found is that they've been extremely helpful in helping us understand why our first application, where the problems were, just in terms of British law and the way that we were structured and some of the key points that we were making. And so it helped us understand kind of where to put different elements of what we're trying to do into, whether it's part of the foundation or part of just IFAJ Limited, the corporation that will sit next to the foundation, which is the basis of our organization. So to have that information and to have their real helpful, honest guidance on that, or direction and feedback has been really helpful. So it makes me very optimistic that we will see our application granted at some point, but I don't have any timeline as to when that will be.
Thank you, Steve. Do you have any questions for Steve about the foundation? No questions. Okay. The eCongress. Yes, we are halfway through it now. So it's the only thing which is left is tomorrow's toast to Denmark and the Star Prize Awards. And we have spoken about this earlier. And there will also be a social hour after the Star Prize presentation. So if you want to chat with your old and new friends in IFAJ, please attend the social hour tomorrow. And you could bring a drink, a special drink from your country, and maybe talk a little bit about it. We will try to divide into separate rooms so that you could socialize in smaller groups. And I hope this will work. It's not like meeting in person, but it's better than nothing, I hope. Okay, next slide, please. Now it's time for the committee reports. So I hand over to Micke.
Yes, thank you, Lena. I will tell a little bit about the Committee of Freedom of the Press. I see that you have been receiving our guidelines. Are we going to decide about them later on, or am I going to take the presentation of them at this point?
It would be an information item, Micke, to present, and they'll come back for approval to the next executive.
Okay, yes, thank you. Thank you, Hugh. Then I will tell you that we have been discussing the need of guidelines for the committee, and that discussion has been going on for some years now. And I have to say that in the beginning, I was not personally so enthusiastic about it, because I thought that the constitution of the IFAJ and the Article 19 in the UN Declaration of Human Rights could do it. But we started to notice that when we had to decide about a case, then we went through the same discussions about principles over and over again when we should decide about current cases. And when we have to decide about something, the situation often demands that we should do it as quick as possible. So after some conversation, these guidelines were accepted by an obvious majority of the committee members. We had an opposition suggesting more detailed rules as a kind of formula for discussing cases, a name of the presenter of cases and frames on how cases can be validated. There was also a suggestion of a kind of rule of decision making in the committee. But anyhow, most of us had the opinion that we should be careful of locking up the work of the committee with too detailed rules, especially because every case is unique. It might be anyway that we sometimes in the future should make a kind of more concrete internal models for taking actions later on, and we'll see about that. But the guidelines which are sent to you is they are fairly easy and they are so simple as possible, in fact, and not very difficult to take part of. And I could say that they are a kind of compromise that we that most of us have agreed about. And then I also would like to tell you that during late spring and early summer, we had a longer correspondence with Abdi Daud from the Somalian Guild. And as other journalists from African countries, he is now living in Kampala in Uganda, and he is trying to establish his own online broadcasting company together with a friend. And you can read about the situation for him and for other Somalian journalists in the latest newsletter. There's a story there by Mark van der Sterren and another one from me. We try to help him by writing to organizations as Reporters Without Borders and the Free Press Unlimited, and then the Rory Peck Foundation. If you don't know what the Rory Peck Foundation is, it was a photographer, Rory Peck, who lost his life during the occupation at the White House, not in Washington, but in Moscow, during the revolution when Yeltsin took over. And there had been created a foundation after him. And then yesterday, we had our second webinar during this eCongress. We had been preparing that for a while. One of our panelists was the investigative journalist from Finland, Jessica Aro. She has been investigating and writing about Russian trolling on social media and elsewhere for several years, and has made a great deal of conclusions about the consequences for the political, economic, and defensive atmosphere globally. As far as I have noticed, so the participants were satisfied with this webinar, and she really turned things upside down for us, and in some kind taught us to be aware of things that we might perhaps haven't noticed earlier. And then we had asked Daud from Somalia to participate as the other panelists. Unfortunately, he didn't show up, and we have been without contact to him for a while now. And that was also the reason why we took a kind of common conversation about what, how can we keep up the contact with people living in exile and people having difficulties doing their work because of because there's no freedom of the press in their home countries. And Tamba did some had something to tell us about that, and told about his problems in his home countries. He is one of the participants in the masterclass I saw, and we noticed that it might be a good idea to try to build some kind of clusters in especially in the countries having trouble with their authorities about freedom of the press. And then we will create a list of contacts for those countries. And then another result of this webinar was that we should try to create a kind of social group on our portal, a social forum on our portal. And I think that is technically a fairly simple thing to do. So we also, as you hear, we also agreed about some proposals during the webinar. Then one of our challenges in the committee is to get information about the press freedom situation globally, and then especially for agriculture journalists. And now we have been wondering if we could receive some help and advices with this topic from UNESCO, among others. So we have an idea growing about a briefing for the committee by a representative from UNESCO about these possibilities. And then when we have had this briefing later on, we could have a webinar for IFAJ members about what UNESCO, among others, is working with, and the possibilities for single journalists to receive support too, because during our correspondence with Dot from Somalia, we found out that there really are those possibilities. So this could also be used as a kind of information for members and member guilds to benefit from organizations as UNESCO. And I think this was it so far. I hope I haven't forgotten anything. Thank you.
I just add for you, Mickey, that all the delegates were sent a copy of the guidelines.
Yes.
This is a draft copy from the committee on guidelines for IFAJ freedom of the press, which will be adopted at some point through the executive committee. So if you have any comments or suggestions or feedback, I'm sure Mickey would appreciate receiving it in the next month or so.
Yes, I would be grateful. Thank you, Hugh.
Your mic is off.
Thank you, Mickey, and thank you for all the work you and the other committee members put into this.
Thank you, Lena.
Do you have any questions for Mickey? No. Okay, then over to the governance committee. The governance committee consists of the people you see down on the Lee Radford, Jean-Baptiste from Congo, Katarina from Germany, and Elaine from United States. And we have had 2 fruitful meetings so far. And the main points we have discussed in the committee is a statement of principle which does clear definitions of Agriculture, Journalism and Communications. And we have also discussed improvements to regional representation, but since we don't have enough financial resources to expand the former representation now, we have been discussing program measures rather than structural changes this time. And I don't know if any of the committee members want to add anything to this.
Lena, if I might just say very quickly, I think it's about looking forward and trying to see how we can continue to grow and evolve the organisation, and hopefully it demonstrates to member countries that there is a vision there for how things can be done differently in future, and how perhaps we can become even more representative and thoughtful about how we engage with countries all around the world. So I think it's a very positive activity for IFAJ, and I'm looking forward to seeing how it plays out in the future.
Thank you, Lee.
I just point out that, again, to all the delegates, the documents were included in your package. And just to explain that 2-3 years ago, the Belgian Guild brought forward some concerns about the Constitution and some suggestions for changes. As a result of that discussion, the Governance Committee was formed to take a look at the proposals. And so what the first part of that would be to add to the Constitution a statement of principles, as it was called, as it's being called. And this would give some more detailed description of what we mean by journalism and communications and journalists and communicators, given that the association, the federation, is made up of both, and also some tidying up of the language. I won't go through it at this point because it's quite detailed, but it's for your information. And again, this will be discussed at the executive committee in the fall, and at some point move through the process, if it's adopted, to bring constitutional amendments to the meeting in Denmark, which I know would be one of the most exciting features of a Congress, is to amend the Constitution. So we expect you to all be there. Anyway, it is good work, and it does, as Lee said, set IFAJ on a good foundation for the future. The other document which was sent out in your package was the list, the overview and the list of items related to regional representation. Again, this was prompted by the fact that IFAJ has expanded from 33 to hang on just a second. There we go. 33 to 55 members, soon hopefully to be 56. And so how do we try to include more regions in the formal activities of IFAJ, given the limited financial resources that are available at this time? So these are a list of possible measures that we could undertake. Some of them we're already doing, for example, the Zoom facility to facilitate meetings across continents. The idea of a mentorship or buddy program between guilds, there's various ones there. Again, if you take the time to look at them and give us feedback, it would be appreciated. We won't go through them all now. And this also, for the record in a way, is the current IFA structure that has been in place now for since its foundation, pretty much 1956, although the number of representatives on the executive committee has grown. And so then below that, on the last page, is some possible structure. It's not a proposal. It's not something that necessarily will be enacted, because again, we would need some more resources to be able to do that. But it's an example of the kind of restructuring that we have to think of in the future if we're going to continue to operate in an effective and efficient manner. So again, give that some reflection and feedback in your guilds to your executive member. The discussion will continue in October.
Okay, thank you, Hugh. Do you have any comments or questions about the governance committee?
Very clear.
May I very shortly give a comment to the work?
Yes, of course.
I must say, I think this discussion in the committee was very fruitful, and it also showed that there were misunderstandings about definitions. And here I want just to point out it is a real challenge to work with different languages and cultures, and sometimes things are just misunderstood, and it's so important to discuss it, and I think we really solved misunderstandings from the past, and this was very fulfilling. But it just shows how difficult it is, and that it needs more efforts than if you discuss with people of your own language and your own culture.
Yes, thank you, Katrina. I agree, and I think it's important that we give this time, so we shouldn't hurry. Okay, maybe this was all about the governance committee.
Yeah, those are just the summaries.
Yes. So the task force, is it Owen who will present this? Owen, are you with us?
Yes, good morning.
Good morning.
Sorry, it's not morning for everybody. Yes, I was, thanks. Do you want me to just carry on?
Yes, please.
Okay. I was pleased to be asked to chair a task force on training, education, and professional development for IFAJ to try to bring some focus and make some recommendations. This is just a task force to make recommendations to to IFAJ about how it might proceed with training, education, and professional development opportunities for members. And wanting to get a cross-section of people. There was representatives chosen from the major geographic areas of IFAJ, and came together. We've had, I guess, two meetings now online, and in several discussions about how we were going to proceed forward. I've worked with a colleague of mine at the University of Illinois to put together a survey for members to see what members want, and to make it academically sound. This person is an expert in surveying. So we asked for contributions from each of the task force members to give questions that would be representative of what they thought information would be that we should be getting from members about questions such as what they thought their needs were for training, education, and professional development. And we're just putting together that survey now, and it should be ready to go. I would say this is the first week of classes now. So once the dust settles, I would imagine in another week and a half, it should be ready to go out. And as I said, we'll come back with, we'll have a look at the survey results and come back with recommendations. So in the sake of time, I think you've got some of the information there. There's the membership of the task force. Trying to cover the ground. Are there other slides there, Hugh? Yeah.
Just a summary of what you just said.
Okay, I think we've covered all this. Oh, an examination of options for professional certification. That was something that was brought up from I remember Rachel from Ireland. Ireland has a clear set of expectations that if you are to receive, is Rachel on today?
No.
No, okay. Anyway, if you are to receive a certification as a, not really as a professional journalist, but as a member of the guild, I guess, or as a active member, or there's some particular designation that if you take part in a certain number of professional activities, you get a certification. We also are looking at a certificate and again, this will depend on what the results come back from, but we're asking people if they would be interested in a day long, a year long, a week long, a month long type of training activity or education activity that would get them some type of certification that had been endorsed by IFAJ. Again, this will become clearer when you see the survey. But the idea is, as we have been doing all along with IFAJ, offer members as many opportunities as possible. And this would be, I assume, primarily online, but I don't want to guess what the survey results are going to be. So I would say in a couple of months, we'll have some more information to report back.
Okay. Do you have any questions or comments about the task force? It doesn't seem to be any questions. So I'm sorry, Owen, I didn't present you properly.
That's okay.
If there is possibly anyone who doesn't know who Owen is, he is our former president. Thank you.
Thanks, Lena.
Next, please. Membership committee. Is that you, Katarina?
Yes, thank you, Lena. Yeah, we are very happy that we have an application from Benin, from Western Africa. And when we met, when the executive met in April, we didn't have an application for this year, and then we had an application, and because the Congress was postponed, we could discuss it and look at the application, and we recommend for the Delegate Assembly to accept this application, which is which fulfills everything we want. And I saw that Andre Topcon, he is the colleague who was engaged in building a guild in Benin. He's also with us, and this is very, I think it's a success story, because he was a participant in the masterclass in 2018 in the Netherlands. And so he must have been very convinced that it is good to have a guild, and maybe he could say a few words. I saw that he is online. I don't know, André. Maybe he's taken by surprise now. Okay, but okay, he entered all the papers.
Okay, good morning, everyone. I want to speak French because I'm not speaking well English.
Yeah, you're welcome, André.
Ok, bonjour à tous. Merci beaucoup.
André, just a minute.
Je
So
suis très
if
ravi
you
que
switch,
la
André, just a minute.
présentation, sinon la candidature
Switch to
du
the
Bénin
French
soit retenue
interpretation.
par le comité. Nous avons beaucoup travaillé, comme vous l'avez dit tout à l'heure, depuis notre participation en 2018 au masterclass de l'Ifaj aux Pays-Bas. Nous avons beaucoup travaillé au Bénin pour assister désormais aux travaux de cette auguste assemblée qu'est l'Ifaj. Donc, les membres du Bénin sont très excités et vont prendre une part active dans la publication, le traitement de l'information agricole au Bénin et en Afrique. Donc, nous comptons sur vous qui avez beaucoup d'expérience pour aider nos membres à pouvoir s'améliorer, à pouvoir investir davantage dans le traitement de l'information agricole. C'est ce que je pourrais dire. Je ne sais pas si vous avez des questions pour moi.
Merci beaucoup, André. Je pense que la traduction n'a pas fonctionné. André said that he is very happy to build his guild.
Alors, je vous entends pas?
Je suis pas sûre si la traduction a fonctionné, mais merci beaucoup pour vos mots et bonne chance pour votre association.
Merci beaucoup.
Okay,
je peux peut-être faire une petite, comment on dit, un petit résumé en anglais, mais l'anglais ne sera pas très bon.
Mais ça ne fait rien. Et peut-être la prochaine fois, André.
Okay, so I said we are very happy to this application. The new member are so exciting to work together with you, with this federation. Need your support to improve our level because we are a country that not work in the development of journalists. So we are trying to do our best. We work very hard to improve what we do. So I want your support for me and for our member. So I'm available for your own contribution for what we can do. Thank you.
Merci beaucoup, André. Il y avait une question dans le chat. Combien de membres la nouvelle guilde compte-t-elle? Combien de membres? Combien de membres avez-vous?
Actuellement, nous avons environ 30 membres, mais ils ne sont pas tous actifs. Ils ne sont pas tous actifs. Nous essayons de mobiliser autant que possible. Mais nous avons environ une vingtaine de personnes qui sont très actives et l'information agricole au Bénin.
Merci beaucoup, merci beaucoup. Are there any more questions? I mean, the committee, the membership committee was convinced and they asked the delegates to vote for Benin to become a member of IFAJ.
Non, j'ai pas de questions. Bon, je ne sais pas si vous en avez pour moi.
C'était ça. Je crois qu'il n'y a pas plus de questions. Je ne vois plus de questions dans le chat. Hugh, can you please, Hugh, can you take over?
Yes, so now we need so the process is the application is reviewed by the membership committee and sent to the executive committee. There it was approved last week with the recommendation that the Delegate Assembly accept Benin as a member. So I now need a motion and a second and a vote on the membership.
I'll propose that we use
Support. Second.
So who moved that? Sorry.
Chris from Northern Ireland.
Second from
Seconded
the
by Alfred.
second from the Philippines. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. All right, so moved and second, the Benin become the 56th member of IFAJ, if you could all vote.
I'm not sure if everybody understood that it is going to vote now.
Okay, so we are voting in the participants box. The reactions, if you can express your support for Benin to become a member of IFAJ. Okay, thank you. It's unanimous. Welcome, Benin.
Yeah, so welcome, Andre and Benin. We are happy to have you as our 56th member. Okay. Next is the Congress, hopefully the Congress in Denmark 2022. Do we have someone from Denmark who wants to speak about this?
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
It's me, Jacob, from Denmark. I'm happy to have an opportunity to tell a little bit about the Danish Congress next year. I can tell you that a lot of guild members from Denmark are working intensely on preparing a program for all of you next year. I'm not one of them who are deeply involved in it, but a lot of my dear colleagues from the guild are. And I will just briefly tell you a little bit about the Congress next year. But please remember that tomorrow there's dedicated, I don't know how long time it is, but way more time to get to know a bit more about the program, the theme, what we will be working on, and what we will show you. So, but let me just tell you a little bit about it now. The title of the Congress is Smarter Farming and Food Production for Green and Sustainable Growth. So we really try to focus on sustainability, climate, environmental issues. And we believe that Denmark has a lot of interesting cases to show you, interesting new technologies that we have developed and that could also be interesting for all of you across the world. So we will have many different things that we will showcase to you. And so I will not go much more into it, but please come by the program tomorrow and hear more about it with some of my other guild members. Will tell much more about it. And then there's also another thing. There's a webinar in November on the Congress where there will be another chance to get to know the program a bit better. So I hope that all of you will participate tomorrow, and looking forward to see all of you in Denmark next year.
Okay, thank you, Jakob. And we will hear more about this tomorrow. Next slide, please. And if this continue as luckily as it is, as we hope, we will also have a Congress in Canada in 2023. Do we have someone from Canada who wants to speak about that Congress? Is it Trevor, maybe?
Hi, Lena, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, hello, everyone. Yeah, so we are still underway in planning for 2023. Hopefully everything will be business as usual by then, hopefully well before then. But as you can see here, similar dates to the Danish Congress just 1 year later. And we are going to be situated in the central, sort of south central geographically part of the province, a very diverse area with an unbelievable amount of value added agriculture occurring, and it will be primarily housed at one of the leading agricultural colleges. So we're very pleased to be partnering with Olds College and presenting to you a program that will hopefully produce many stories that you'll be able to take back home to readers in your home countries.
Thank you, Trevor. Do you have any questions about the Canadian Congress? No. So next slide, please. And Switzerland, there will be another Congress in Interlaken. Who wants to speak about that?
Yes, hi Lena, hi everybody.
Hello.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Great, so hello everybody from Switzerland. I will just try if I can share the right screen.
It's already up there, Roland.
Pardon?
It's already up there.
Yes, I have my own, but it's okay. We leave it like this. So, as president of the organizing committee of the Swiss Congress in 2024, I'm happy to say a few words about it. It will take place, as you see here, from the 4th of September to the 8th of September in Interlaken. It's a beautiful city, small town in the canton of Bern, close to the capital and close to the Alps. So you will have beautiful mountains, beautiful lakes. There will lots of cows, cheese and milk, as you might expect. But of course, we will show you much more than that. Since Swiss agriculture is very diverse, with meat production, vegetable, fruit production, and also crop production. The title of our Congress is High Elevations, High Expectations. Maybe if you can, move to the second slide, thank you. High elevations means that large parts of Swiss agriculture have challenging conditions because of geography and topography. There's hills and mountains, lots of rain, which leads to a lot of small-scale livestock farming and high production costs. High expectations means that Swiss agriculture is very much under public scrutiny. There are discussions and political initiatives about the use of pesticides, about animal welfare, and about biodiversity. The Swiss consumers have high expectations about the products. They want the products to be safe, healthy, sustainable, traceable, animal friendly, and so on. We want to show you how Swiss farmer families and their partners in the agri-food chain cope with these challenges. With new labels highlighting sustainable production, with cooperation across value chains, with technical innovation, with processing on the farm, with farmer shops, agrotourism, and a lot more. On our website, ifaj2024.ch, you can find some very first informations and some first pictures. Maybe you can show the next slide, you. So we're planning a pre-congress in the western part of Switzerland, where the participants can get to know the French-speaking part of our country. And there's been talks about a post-congress combined with the Austrian Guild. We will have to elaborate on this. So obviously, our planning schedule has been messed up by Corona, but our enthusiasm for this Congress is unchanged. We are very much looking forward to welcome you in 2024 in Interlaken, and we are sure that together we will have a great time and learn a lot. Thank you.
Thank you, Roland. It seems as we have a lot of interesting congresses to look forward to. Okay, next. Other business. I think we have some other business. Don't we, you?
Yeah, usually it's open. Is there any particular items that delegates or executive members wish to raise?
But aren't there some people who have said that they want to say something?
Yeah, Kazuko from Japan.
No, as I am attending on the advice observer, I don't think I have anything particular to say. And
Okay.
Okay, thank you, Kazuko.
Thank you very much.
But
Williams is not with us.
do we have someone from Uganda who wanted to say something?
He's not with us.
It's not with us any longer. Okay, okay. Then I might have something to say. We have been reached by the rumor that this is the last meeting that Jacqueline will be representative from the Netherlands. Is that true, Jacqueline? Isn't she with us either?
Yeah, I am with you.
Yeah.
But I was on mute because I'm on the road.
Okay.
I was confronted with this situation myself yesterday only. So, so just to be sure, for the time being, there's an agreement that I will continue to represent the Netherlands until the Danish Congress. And then we will actually probably change and have a new delegate or executive representative. But we will let you know in due course.
Okay, thank you, Jacqueline. We are happy to have you with us at least one more year.
Okay, thank you for your confidence. Thanks, Lena.
So maybe there are no other business then. It doesn't seem like that. So can we have the agenda back, please, you?
That's the end of the agenda.
Yeah, okay. So thank you very much for today. Thank you for setting aside time for this meeting, especially you had to get up in the middle of the night or in late evenings. I think it has been a good meeting, and I thank all of you. I hope to see you soon again. Bye.